Hey, Vin. Welcome to the show.
Yo, what's good? Good to be on here. We actually
Yeah, man.
haven't had an official talk ever.
Yeah, it's always just texts, and it's very different when you actually talk to somebody. So that's a good excuse to get you on here. And I just want to talk to you about filmmaking stuff. I mean, that's what we're usually chatting about, and some tech things like that. It's I don't know what it's like to make videos on YouTube lately. For anybody that doesn't know, you do cinematography filmmaking stuff for MKHB's channel, and used to do it a lot for your own, which I saw you still post some little shorts occasionally on your own channel. But what's you give me the best bio of yourself, because you know your story better than I do.
I'm still experimenting. We always have stuff on the back burner, so I would say a lot of my time is spent just thinking of as many crazy, fun ideas as possible and just crumbling them down smashing them down onto one piece and then presenting it to Marquez and Brandon on that day. So a lot of back end work, a lot of research, and a lot of trying to draw inspiration from a bunch of different sources to try and make something new.
What's cool about what you guys are doing over there is you're part of a few channels and creators that are defining a genre that will become the vocabulary of filmmaking a few years to come. And I think the best example of this we've seen in the past is Casey. Obviously Casey Neistat's style of vlogging. That's what we think of as a vlog
editing
now.
And the shots, it's so distinct, and music choice, there's an identity to it.
And right before that, I mean, we all kind of forget, but when we started using the word vlog, it was more like this. It was the thing of when people just sit down and just talk to camera, and it's hey, I had muffins and cupcakes for breakfast, and this is my day. And that was what a vlog was before Casey. I know he didn't invent it. I'm not familiar with who did invent it, but he very much defined what we think of as that style of storytelling now. And, YouTube's not a finished product. We're obviously going to keep evolving in what that storytelling is exactly. But, you guys are at a place where, you have the resources to put together the best in the world filmmaking stuff. And the audience is such that it's going to define what people expect tech videos to look like. This is what a tech video is. So yeah, it's cool. Every day you're being part of that, creating that world. So I don't know, it's been awesome to watch too. And the funny thing, so yeah, we haven't talked before, but a little history of that. Brandon came on right the day that he found out he was going to take the job with Marquez, which you guys did basically at the same time, right?
Yeah, I think I was actually there for that podcast, in the background, just listening.
Yeah, and it was just total coincidence. I had no idea that this was even a maybe thing, and he's oh, by the way, this is starting. So yeah, I'm glad we could finally complete the circle, get both you on. But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts on that sort of general language of what YouTube is like from a filmmaking perspective?
Man, I feel like a lot of people, kids are getting really good at picking things up really fast, but it's kind of hard to build your own sort of style when there's so much influence that you like, and it's so easy to copy, but copying is the fastest way of learning. So there's a lot of talent out there. So I don't know. Time's only going to tell what YouTube's going to unfold. And so far, kids are good. Holy shit. They'll surprise you. I've seen 13, 15-year-olds just doing what I was doing 3 years ago.
You're saying kids, but I think I got to have 10 years on you or something. So I know exactly the same feeling. That's the way it goes. But it's the same with when, I know photographers and filmmakers that are older than me as well, that they had this feeling, and it's been kind of this march for the last 30 years where tech has enabled this insane fast rate of growth in terms of creativity, because the tools got so good at relatively affordable levels. All of a sudden, it democratizes it. We can all do an amazing job. Tutorials are out there that I'm still watching every day.
Same. I love tutorials. I still watch them.
Do you
I
have any,
still
like,
watch
what
the
do you watch?
basic ones too. Like,
What are you watching lately? Like what's something that helped you out in the last little while?
definitely color grading. I just love like super artsy videos that don't even like say much, but like you're just there to absorb it all, and that's been really fun to watch.
I'm trying to get a little more into Resolve right now. So with the C200, my workflow was grading. I'd like pre-grade a lot of stuff or kind of everything in Resolve, and like mix it down. And then that's what I edited with in Final Cut is like ProRes graded files, which is like weird workflow. Now I got the C70. That doesn't make sense anymore because before I was trying to ditch the raw files, right? Now C70, it's not raw. So there's more of a like live grading thing, and I'm trying to figure out that balance of how will I edit and grade at the same time, but I still like editing in Final Cut. I don't want to leave Final Cut. So anyway, I'm just like trying to get to know Resolve better, be a lot more fluid in it, more comfortable in it. And there's like some really great content out there about like, it's crazy what you can do in Resolve. It's really amazing software.
I think recently I feel like Final Cut is so close to being perfect. Like we do a lot of the things on there, a lot of the magical stuff that you see, but After Effects is still pulling us away. And I don't know. I feel like coloring's pretty solid on Final Cut. It's not as good as DaVinci Resolve with like, I think they have like a plugin for film emulations and stuff. Like that's pretty sick. Like, I don't know. I love like all of the theoretical fun stuff behind DaVinci, but there's something about the Final Cut workflow that it's just like straight to the point and you just get your ideas out really quick.
Yeah. Do you stay in Final Cut when you're grading then? Like do you go into Resolve? Like you don't cross back and forth. It's like the main edit and the main grade when you're doing that will be like that's where you feel comfortable is Final Cut?
Yeah. It's pretty good now, but they're still missing the tracker. I think that's the only thing really.
Yeah. It's like these little details for me. A lot of it's really good. It is really good. And again, now like almost all my grade is in Final Cut, but it's things like, okay, let's say I want to change. This is so specific. Like 5 people are going to care about this. Okay. Let's say you're in the hue versus hue section of grading or hue versus saturation, any of those. There's a little button at the bottom of DaVinci that lets you add points to like red, yellow, blue, magenta. Like you can just drop a point in there, and that just makes it way easier to start manipulating things. Whereas in Final Cut, you have to like click 2 points on either side and then click a third point in the middle, and then you start sliding it. Whereas DaVinci does that automatically. That is such a small detail.
Yeah, it's just like a little intuitive like step in there that just makes it so when you bend it, it's not as like strange.
Yeah, it doesn't take like the whole curve with it because if you do it wrong, which you can do it wrong more easily in Final Cut, now all of a sudden, you're trying to do reds and your blues moved. And there's just like a million little spots like that. The DaVinci's just had 10 years to evolve that interface. And since Final Cut didn't get good at color until recently, it's, I don't know. But, what else? Like, what about where did you learn a lot of the stuff that you have learned? Because like you're talking about kids being good. Like, yeah, you're a kid and you're amazing at it. So like, where did you pick up a lot of your general filmmaking skills? Like, is it kind of all YouTube?
Oh yeah, definitely just all YouTube. A lot of music videos for inspiration on like colors and editing speed, and I don't know, like just all kinds of different like crazy videos. I tried not to watch tech videos honestly anymore for inspiration.
I get that feeling too. And for me, I especially don't watch videos that are the most in the same genre as me, like things that people are most likely to be watching right after my video. Cause that's not where I want to end up like pulling ideas from. I mean, for me anyway, it's like, I don't want it to seem like I was ripping something off from somebody that's doing something similar to me. It's like I'd rather draw from inspiration from like totally unrelated stuff. But
I think I also try to like find things that people can relate to, because that's what like a lot of my filmmaking like comes from, because that's what kind of YouTube is. Like it has to be relatable in a way, but like there's all kinds of like videos on, because there's all different kinds of people. So I feel like a lot of my job is just decorating a lot. So I try to like pull inspiration for decorating from different sources.
Well, yeah. So like when you say relatable, like what's an example of something that makes it feel that way?
I don't know. It's kind of like a weird feeling that you get when you take a device and you have to like, all right, so this all stems from Marquez's whole theory of realism and putting the audience like in the driver's seat. We try to come up with things that trigger your eyes and like your senses when you look at this device, and put things around it to like remind you of where it can be and you can be.
Like a thing I think about on those same terms is making spaces feel a little bit lived in. Like, okay, so when you look at commercials right now for tech products, there's a lot of shots you'll see that are just like floating in white space, you know, floating in black
Yeah.
space or floating in a colored space. And, you know, especially like every new iPhone, actually every phone, every single phone announcement will have some moment where it's just like really close up, detailed, perfect, perfectly lit, perfect in every way,
Usually
moving
it's
around in a
CGI,
void.
Cinema
Yeah.
4D, just
And that's the thing, is it is all fake. And so I think when you start trying to recreate that, if like you can do that in studio, you can totally do like floating on a background, but it makes the viewer think of, oh, CGI, not real, doesn't exist. This might as well be coming from the manufacturer. I mean, that's how I think of it anyway. So then if you do a good job of like staging and art direction, that's what makes it like it could only be in your space, right? Like it could only be
Yep.
only you could have taken that shot because it's got reality around it.
Yeah, because like when you watch it, there's no like distraction or separation, and everything just works in sync, and it feels like its own world that it exists in.
And
That
then
you can also like jump in and be like, ooh, look at all of this stuff. Oh, look at this. Oh,
and is
I didn't see it
like
that way before.
where are
Yeah.
you drawing inspiration? Like, do you keep track of inspiration for that stuff? Like, do you have like Pinterest boards of like, oh, this is a cool layout, I like these colors together, or is it just kind of like, you know, off the cuff, like, oh, this is what I'm in the mood for today, or this is like, you know, do you like formalize it with some kind of mood board?
I've been trying to do that more recently, but I used to just endlessly watch music videos and different types of like photography and try and just pull colors and like moods from. And it used to be easy doing it, but as like all of these phones come out, it all piles up, and now you're like, okay, I need to have like a set
Right.
like list of themes or something, like a playbook of some sort. So now I'm trying to like use shot deck or like a lot of more
Yeah, Shot
typing,
Deck's good.
but I think I want to get into more like iPad drawings. Brandon's super good with the drawings, and I've been trying to do more of like that kind of back end work to make on set shooting a lot faster and easier, and also being able to communicate that to other coworkers easier.
I've been watching a friend on Twitter that does, he's he's doing like scene cutting in Resolve or Premiere, where, you know, you like detect the scenes, choosing his favorite bits from them all and then exporting them as like GIFs in a table, so that he can, so it's not just like a mood board, but he has like little animated shots of like his favorite references. I'm like, oh, I've got to start doing that. That'd be so awesome to be able to like, to not only, you know, look at like, so Shot Deck, if anybody isn't familiar with what you're talking about, it's basically a website that takes stills from movies, like kind of the most beautiful moments, so you can reference like lighting ideas and composition, and it sort of turns cinematography into photography, so you can study and break down those individual moments. And it's a great service. Like, it's really nice for that.
Yeah, there's like a
But
lot of like cheat sheet info on there. Like they'll tell you what camera they used, like all kinds of things. Like
totally,
it's
yeah.
super like easy to break it all down when you can see like a bunch of visually appealing things, and then you can pick from those like what you like about them a lot easier.
So you don't have to guess the lens, right? Because I play that game when I'm watching movies all the time. Like, 24, 55.
Oh, I love that game.
I'm probably wrong
We
half the
always
time.
play that.
It makes me feel
At the
like,
office.
oh, I know what's up, but I'm probably wrong a lot, right? Like I don't necessarily know if
Yeah.
they're shooting
Yeah.
on a full frame or a Super 35 or whatever. So, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun.
and then
it's fun to guess.
post-processing and then crop after, and then you're like, this was shot on 9mm actually. And you're like, this is cropped all the way to like 50.
This episode of the Stallman Podcast is brought to you by Fortnite, which is super cool to have as a sponsor. And I don't need to explain what Fortnite is to you, do I? I mean, you guys know what Fortnite is. But they do have something specific that they wanted me to let you guys know. The new season of Fortnite is here. And if you play Fortnite or know anything about it, you'll know that the storyline evolves with every season and it's better than ever. Whether you're playing Battle Royale daily or hopping in for daily events in Party Royale, the island changes with every development that gets thrown at us. Now the island has grown wild, so must you. Experience the Zero Crisis finale in-game now and pick up the Season 6 Battle Pass to run wild across primitive landscapes with Lara Croft, Teen Titans Raven, and Agent Jones. So go to fn.gg/season6 to check it all out. That's fn.gg/season6, or just click the link in the show notes. Thanks again to Fortnite for supporting the show. But yeah, so the reason I want to get, and this is actually a reason that I think anybody that like likes to make videos should do this kind of exercise, is to like go in and try to find the things that you like so that you can really have like a direct connection with it. And this idea of, like building your own mood boards, and finding your own references and not just relying on what other people are feeding you as their inspiration, because I find like we can all end up getting the exact same inspiration. Like if you search Pinterest for cinematography, I guess, you'll find all the same shots over and over and over, and they're great shots. We all love them, but we've become very familiar with them. But there's so much work out there that like I don't want to only be looking at the exact same inspiration that everybody else is, so that we don't end up all having like the exact same shots in the end, right? So I want to start building up more of a reference point.
The Peter McKinnon tutorials.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just nothing but
no offense, Peter McKinnon. Don't kill me.
Yeah, no, but it's true. It's like we don't want to, and that was an effect that I think Peter had on the like camera world too, is like everybody is drawing inspiration from Peter. So all the videos start having a similar feeling. It's like, no, like if you're making a camera video, totally. Yeah. I mean, I love coffee, but I intentionally don't do videos about it because of that, right? Because it's like, well, he claimed it, he got it, like, cool, he beat me to the punch, so I better
That's
do
his
something
thing. Like,
else.
let him have it. Like, come on.
Yeah. But there are things in completely different genres that may be more worth stealing. Like, I'm saying steal. I do mean stealing though, but like, there's things in beauty videos you could go and be like, that concept would be really interesting if I applied it to tech or to a photo video.
Absolutely.
Or like, you can pull, or I think it's something that's underutilized for mining ideas is just commercials. Like if you just start paying attention to, say, car commercials or anything that's like really big budget, there's some amazing, incredibly beautiful shots that are being done by the highest level movie cinematographers. Commercials aren't like, there are commercial only cinematographers, but I think it gets discounted because they come on, in between your videos, your YouTube videos, or they come on in between your TV show. So people kind of ignore them. But like, there's amazing work in there. And if you spend some time like taking out the best moments, you can find a lot of inspiration. So yeah, like trying to find like what's something unrelated to what I do. So yeah, in my example here's like a car commercial. You can just find all these shots that are like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, you gotta really check your sources, because it's kind of like you are what you eat. So you just kind of produce what you absorb.
Yeah, like when it comes to filmmakers as well, like you can see that effect with soundtracks, which this is the video that I loved, was the breakdown of like, okay, here's why Marvel movies all sound the same and why you can't remember the theme music to any Marvel movies.
Oh yeah, I've seen that video.
You saw that? Yeah, that was great. And it was like,
they all sound like super generic. Yeah,
totally. And even now,
like, they
I can't
work
get
in
a
the
Marvel
moment,
song in my
but
head.
that's like that film factor, and then that YouTube factor is that one thing that sticks in your brain and you can just remember it every single time, and it's always like that's how YouTube videos I feel like are filmed now. Like there's that not clickbait aspect, but like that personal touch that like you just wouldn't think about, that's like in the back of your mind.
Yeah, totally. And then what happened with the Marvel situation is they were using like play and a lot of other modern movies like Transformers and stuff. They're using placeholder songs from other movies, like other recent action movies. And as they're editing, you use temp music, right? Which isn't going to be the final thing. So you're waiting for the scoring to be done because like the orchestra hasn't come in yet or whatever. And as the edit happens, you get attached to that temp music. So we end up structuring the soundtracks around that same temp music that is now 5 generations old and reused. And like every movie is referencing the last movie that came out before it. And then it's only when somebody totally breaks that cycle that we get something interesting. So like, I love this is such a perfect anecdote for finding inspiration, but like all of Chris Nolan's conversation, Chris, like he's my buddy, Christopher Nolan's.
Oh yeah. Good old Chris.
Yeah. He's every film he talks about like where the inspiration from the music comes from. And Interstellar, for example, he had only told Hans Zimmer that this is going to be a story about like a father and daughter and, you know, their relationship. And that's what the movie is. That's all he told him. He said nothing about space or time travel or any of the crazy shit that happens in that movie. It's like, no, this is about relationships. And that's the score that Hans Zimmer came back with. And then that became like one of the most iconic recent scores. And same with, like everything that he's done lately has become iconic because it's disconnected.
Yeah, that's pretty insane that like you can just know those people that have that same sense with you, that they can you just give them a couple of words and they're like, okay, I got you. Bam.
I also want to touch on some gear. It's hard to avoid. Like it's good. It's good to talk about the artistry because I think people spend too little time on it. But I'm, you know, as gear hungry as anybody else. What are you shooting on right now? We were chatting about the R5 on text messages just before this. How are you feeling about the R5 lately? Now that it's had an update.
C-Log 3 is pretty decent, but there's something about C-Log and just the overall Canon image, and I don't know. I'm just at like a scramble for cameras right now, and I can't decide on anything. I feel like they're all limited in some way, but like maybe that's just me being in the camera, like being access to all of these like awesome cameras. You can find all of these like flaws in them and what you like in this one or like that one. But I think I've been playing around with the idea of getting an FX3, a Komodo, or an R5. And so far, I'm thinking about the Komodo, but there's just something about the autofocus that's like holding me back and committing to that full ecosystem that's like a little daunting.
It's a really wide spread of cameras. Like they're pretty different between them.
They're very different. Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, you're getting big trade-offs. It's definitely not like, oh, they're almost identical. And that's part of the challenge of choosing right now is that like there's so many good ones, but you are making a compromise no matter what. And yeah, I've talked about the Komodo a lot on here, and I think mostly I was talking about it before a lot of people had it in hand, and I think more people have talked about the limitations since then. Like Tommy, who was on here before he had gotten his and then sold it 2 weeks after he got it. Talked a lot about the idea of that, like it really becomes challenging when you don't have a few other, like a team that can help support any kind of red shooting, you know. But you've been around them a lot more. Like I haven't actually done a real shoot with a red. I've only done like sort of YouTube test videos. Like, do you feel that when you're working with red? Like, does that concern you about owning your own Komodo, that like it'd be harder to operate by yourself?
I think it's just like a weird commitment issue because most of the time it's me and Brandon operating the red, and we can definitely do it like one person, and we can get away with looking like two or three people did it. But I don't know. I'm just so picky now, and they're all just so good. I think that I'm just having a difficult time. It's really like a like a 1% like weird picky thing, but they're honestly all really good.
What what would get you to not buy the FX3? Which like so that because that's like the balance between the threes, right? Like I can see the challenge with the Komodo is, yeah, it's like you got to be more on top of your batteries. You got to buy more media, be dumping it more often, like kind of you're babying the camera a little more. And then on the R5, less babying, like it can handle itself a lot more, but it's got the great autofocus and stuff. But the image quality is not the same. It doesn't have the same dynamic range, things like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like, okay, why not just jump in the middle for the FX3?
Yeah, that's kind of like because the body style is there. That's what I wanted out of the Komodo, but it has the form factor of the R5 and I think the colors out of Sony recently, the default picture profile is incredible. So
Yeah.
I can get
Yeah, they've
away
worked
with
on it.
Outlog. I'm not even going to shoot S-Log 3 on that. Like I find it almost pointless for me at least, but some people could fight me for that.
I mean, I haven't shot it, so I like you're talking about the new Cinetone profile. Is that the like sexy one that you're thinking of? Where it's like it's that's like that's the one that everybody that I've seen talking about the FX3 is hyped on. But
yeah, that's supposed to be like the Venice color science, right?
yeah.
I actually like the default one without
Oh, okay.
with
Yeah,
all of the stuff. Yeah, just the one straight out the box. I
right.
thought it looks good.
Cool.
I think,
But then
well,
not
I
on
think, I
the
know, oh, it looks good. But
not on the Canon as much. Like, do you? Because on the Canon, what were you shooting? Because you have an R5 now, or like you have access to one. But like, how do
Yeah.
you shoot it when you're using it? Do you go C-Log or do you just shoot it on something standard?
yeah, I used to shoot C-Log and now C-Log 3. So I'm just testing out all these cameras. I don't own any of these. I don't have an FX3. I'm playing around with an A1 and an A7S3 at work,
Yeah.
and I'm playing around with a Komodo at work.
But yeah, like you've tried so many now that it's like, are
Yeah.
you just going to be wishing you had all the other features that you know you'll be missing? I already have that with, so I got C70 now. So happy with it. Like it's exactly what I wanted. But I do miss things from the R5 having played with it for a while. Like the image stabilization was so helpful in the R5 when you're just like running gun handheld,
Yeah.
being able to just stand there and like it's rock solid, no concerns about any weird warping or like anything kind of looking crappy from it.
Yeah. But also to add on to that, the FX3 has the Sony Catalyst software, so you can like just use the gyro data, and I thought that was brilliant because that's what kind of like brings like the IBIS from the R5 and also like the global shutter aspect from the Komodo, and it like kind of like has this like weird mix of like both of those features.
Well, and yeah, so if anybody hasn't seen that, it's that you use the gyroscopic data inside the camera is being recorded, and then in post, you can apply it to the footage to get a properly stabilized footage in the way that an iPhone stabilizes, like by using its gyroscope, and it cancels out the movement of the camera versus something digital looks at the scene and tries to understand the movement, which has strong artifacts. Like it's really, it's a lot, you're a lot more constrained in what you can do in pure digital stabilization. Have you actually used it on the FX3? Because like my only concern is that it would slow down the workflow so much that you'd end up like, I'm just not going to bother. Like you'd use it less often in the end. But did you end up really using it or?
No, I haven't used it yet. I haven't used an FX3 yet,
Oh, okay.
but
Well, you
also
gotta-
I'm testing these like all in my free time, like after work, and most of the time, honestly, I'm touching a Monstro. So
right.
for real, that's the best camera, like out of everything.
yeah.
So I don't
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
but for
that's-
personal work, I think I'm leaning towards Komodo and FX3 right now.
Is there a reason you're looking at the FX3 and not the C70? Because I mean, I got to say I'm a fan of the C70, so I got to at least try to give it a voice
Yeah.
in your thought process. But
I just like the form factor. Like I just like the way it looks. It just looks super cool. And,
yeah, it's true. The C70 looks like a stills camera. It doesn't look like a video camera.
Yeah. Yeah. Not as a, it doesn't look like all sci-fi, cyberpunky-esque.
Yeah, yeah. But if we're going off looks, it would 100% be the Komodo in my books. Like I absolutely love that design. It's like one of the best designs in a few years. So
yeah, just I still like Komodo for the overall ergonomics and the way you can rig it, because it just feels like, it almost feels like weaponized, and you get your points of contact really good, and the image that comes out of it is still not comparable to mirrorless at all, to me, in my eyes, in the way that it just moves and the way it pulls color. Is Red Raw is so good. I just can't get over it, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's something amazing about when you bring your footage in, and you see the log preview, and in one click in the conversion from log to Rec 709, and then all of a sudden it looks like a movie. It's so satisfying. And like, if you just come from the mirrorless world and you're not really used to that, like shooting on A7S2s and A7R4s and Canon Rs, all those, you'd like fight with it for a few hours, and you're like, I think it looks normal. I think this looks right or cool or whatever. But the red footage, or others, like any of the pro Canon or pro Sony stuff now as well, you drop the right LUT on there and it just looks like the movies. Like and it feels so satisfying, and red especially. Yeah, because there's a few of those different profiles, like the low con and the high con, and they all just look so nice. Yeah, it's hard to compete with that. This episode is brought to you by a tool for all you filmmakers out there. It's Mixkit, which is a free place to download all kinds of assets for your next video. Mixkit has 4 different kinds of assets that you can download. They've got royalty-free stock. They've got music tracks. They've got video templates, which are for After Effects, Premiere Pro, Final Cut, Resolve, whatever it is you use. And then they also have sound effects. That's a lot of stuff for free. And it's attribution free as well. So that means you can just put it in your next project. You don't have to put it in the credits at the end. You can just use this stuff. They're constantly adding to their library. So every week there are new clips. You can keep going back, finding more for your next project. And that means you could use this for a website background, or for a YouTube video, or social posts, or even if you just want to practice your editing, you can get free resources there. You can download as many as you need across a whole range of categories like cities, travel, drone shots, nature clips, and much more. You're going to go to mixkit.co/r/Stallman. That's mixkit.co/r/Stallman. And there you're going to find out more. And just start downloading. You don't have to buy anything. Just go there, download some free clips. Thanks again, Mixkit, for supporting the show.
Yeah, Red Raw. I think that I just saw a video on this, and I found out that Red Raw is patented by like Red. You can't shoot RAW on any other camera. Otherwise, Canon would have done it, Blackmagic would have done it, Sony would have done it, but they all have like their own version of RAW, but not quite RAW. Like you can't adjust the white balance in post, and there's like a lot of like different sliders you can play with, and they just magically pull the footage somehow.
Yeah, it's super weird. They're all dancing around it. Somebody is paying a license to Red. I don't remember who's actually paying for it.
Yeah.
I know like Canon's RAW Lite, they like modified what it is in a way to not step on Red's patent. And it's what you're saying. Like they're all doing something to kind of try to like dodge needing to pay Red for the RAW stuff. But Red, yeah, like compressing RAW footage is Red's game. And they also are able to get the compression ratio to like so much smaller files while maintaining that image quality that nobody else has been able to compete with. So yeah, I mean, I hear you. I would absolutely love to be shooting it. A few thoughts on C-Log 3. If you're going to be playing with it, because you said you haven't a lot yet, right? Like you're just starting to touch it.
I haven't opened your LUTs yet. My bad on that.
No. I'm just trying to help out if it can. But the thing I want to make sure I get the word out there, like PSA, because based on comments that I've gotten every time I talk about C-Log 2 and C-Log 3, a lot of people don't know yet that C-Log 2 is the flattest, highest dynamic range profile. And that is all Canon's fault, because, you know, you'd think like 1, 2, 3. 3 should be the most, right?
Three is the highest number. It should be the best one, right?
I mean, it literally should. It makes no sense that it's not. That's a huge mistake. But it's the way. So Canon first released, I think they started with C-Log on the like C100. So, you know, it's barely log. Like, honestly, it's kind of just like the contrast is turned down. You get like a smoother image. Like, it's got a bit more of that buttery feel, but it's not really giving you a lot more dynamic range. Like, it doesn't pull back a lot of highlights or anything. It's just like a smoother roll off. Then they released C-Log 2, which is very similar to like Alexa Log C, that's like the gold standard of log. Like, that's the default. That's the default log, and it is perfect. And C-Log 2 from Canon is pretty close to that. You can cross the LUTs over between them, and it looks awesome. But then they were like, okay, at the time, Canon only had a lot of cameras were still only 8-bit, and it would be too much of a struggle to grade C-Log 2 footage, the super flat stuff. You couldn't quite grade it from like the C300 Mark 1 or Mark 2. I don't remember the generations. So they added a new thing called C-Log 3 that was in between the two. So it's like a little bit flatter than C-Log, not as flat as C-Log 2, and just easier to grade. But it's not all the way. Like, it's still like a half step and only
it's still log
better
footage to me. And like, I don't know, I'm over log footage, honestly.
You just want to shoot like straight to your profile.
We need raw.
Yeah. Well, and then that was the thing that was missing before with even if you're shooting raw on the R5 before, you couldn't convert the raw to C-Log 2 or whatever. So like, what we really need is raw that can convert over into C-Log 2, which you can't even do right now. So, but that's what the C200 does. So anyway, it needs to be the same as that. This is all like so rat hole. But do you spend a lot of time like digging? Like, is it fun or frustrating to like dig into the details for you?
It's kind of a mixed bag. A lot of the time, I try to look for like, I'm not a very technical person when I go to work, but when I'm at home, that's when I like research all the technical stuff. Because when I don't know, I've never explained this process really, so it's kind of hard.
Well, it's a good time to. Now we can do some inner soul searching.
It's not frustrating, but I guess it's part of the job now, just like watching YouTube and understanding all these new cameras. But most of the time when I show up to work, Marquez just tells me, make this look cool, and I just make it look cool. So I don't know, like, I'm not very technical skill. And I just like watching, like, I'll watch the funniest, randomest videos, and somehow that just like conjures into this, like it just translates somehow. I don't know. Strange.
Well, I mean, that's good. Like, you got a secret sauce and you don't necessarily know how to explain it.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I just show up and I just feel it out.
Do you have any other favorite toys you've been playing with in terms of filmmaking? Like, is there anything that's been helping you get your job done better than you could a year ago?
Oh, we recently got this new slider from Kessler. It's their heavier cine, like the big boy version. And we've been flying Monstro on that, and no jitters. So good.
Yeah,
very minimal jitters.
There's always some jitters. Yeah, I know the struggle of
that's the thing. Like, all these tools, nothing is perfect. When you watch it back, it's so fast that it feels perfect. But to me, I see all of the flaws. So when you ask all of these like heavy technical questions, I'm like, I don't know. I just watched the video like 2 seconds ago. I just show up and I'm like, okay, let's make shit look cool.
Yeah. But so far, so good with it. I mean, like, I've used many different sliders, and so many of them, like, even right now. So like the Rhino I've been using lately, and I was featuring in the last video. It like was producing some perfect footage for me. Then in my last shoot, I was definitely getting some visible jitter in it. I'm just like, I just want it to be perfect. And that was like the best. It still is the best slider I've used, and I'm still fighting it to like be actually smooth. But I mean, the Kessler, I imagine like there becomes this change when you like the wheels get bigger and the rails get bigger. Is it that kind of thing? Like everything's just sized up a little?
Yeah, I think it's just like the structural like weight support. I don't know how to explain that. Like, yeah, just like it just feels heftier so it can handle more, I guess.
Yeah.
I think manual slider, like, you know, those like super old sliders where you see like the metal, like steel beams and like there's like skateboard wheels on it. I think that's still the best slider for smoothness, but all right, so I'm about to go into this. There's a lot of different kind of sliders, right? And they're all good at their own thing. So you kind of have to pick and choose your poison. And a lot of the time we just pick what gets our ideas out fast and what's repeatable, because we do a lot of party tricks for Marquez, and we don't use a manual slider anymore. We mostly use the motorized one, the Kessler.
Makes sense. Because, yeah, and then it's like you can just keep doing the same shot over and over.
Yeah, it's easier to just like, all right, I want you to start here and end here. Go.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, once you're doing the manual thing, it's like every shot is a little different. And that also can mean there's certain like VFX you can't do. You can't like swap objects in your hand. So you're going to be upgrading your own camera soon. Does that mean we can see more from you? I mean, I'd love to see your channel slightly exist a little more. Like you got these little fun ones. Do you have any like personal filmmaking plans coming up?
Kind of. I'm just like feeling it out right now, honestly. And I think my camera search is still going to continue for maybe another half year, but at least I have access to a bunch of cool friends and people that can operate the cameras for me. And like, I don't know, I just got a lot of options. So
well,
I'm gonna keep
the good
on
news
looking.
is once you choose a camera, you're going to keep looking for a new camera. The new search starts right after that. And you start looking forward to your next one. That's how it's been for me anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
The endless
after I
search
get
for the
that one,
perfect
there's going
camera.
to be another better one that comes out 3 years later.
Yeah.
And then I cry.
Feeling. All right. Well, I super appreciate you coming on, man. I love your work. I'm going to keep watching it. And yeah, if anybody's not following you, because obviously you're not just MKBHD, you've got your own universe. I mean, go find Vinh on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere else people should be following you.
Yeah, that's it.